All right, welcome to episode 9 of my solo podcast. And before I get into the next topic I'm going to discuss, I think you'll like it, by the way. Just want to remind everybody, hey, I love doing these things. I just find some peace and tranquility while I'm doing this, and I like to talk about things and putting myself out there. So if you like the show, please share it, whether it's on YouTube or in other platforms, and give us a review. Give me a review, I should say. I don't have a staff here. I'm not like Joe Rogan or people like that. We do have some listeners, which I really appreciate, and it's a lot of fun to do. So that being said, we're also rolling in my online training program. The off-season program is going to start on June 16th. So if you remember that, if you are a member of that, I should say, we'll get rolling with your off-season prep there. And as always, I'm posting a lot of content on the platform, and hopefully you interact and you want to become a part of that. If the link's right here in the bio, it's Train Heroic Total Hockey Training. It's a year-round hockey training program, and we have people from all over the world, and it's a lot of fun. So, okay, my next topic I want to talk about is the word culture. The word culture. I'm passionate about that because I believe the right culture can help teams win. It's a proven fact, I think, and I've been around some great cultures as I've worked in the NHL, and I like to think I'm applying good culture principles or great culture principles to my current role as the owner of Skahan Sports Conditioning here in Minnesota. And I want to talk about some things about culture and what I believe, and some proven people who I've looked up to or have had podcasts with where they talk about their culture. And I want to reference podcast number 23 with Greg Carville, the head hockey coach at UMass in Amherst. And we have a really good discussion about his culture at UMass, and it's proven, and they do a great job up there. So check that out if you haven't. And I want to start with, I'm actually reading this book. Actually, I've read it. I'll be honest. It's The Art of Winning by Bill Belichick. And if people who know me personally know that I'm a huge fan of Coach Belichick, and I really don't care about his personal life. But when it comes to coaching, in my opinion, there's no one better. And he has a chapter on culture, and I want to read one of the paragraphs. Culture doesn't do things. Culture creates the circumstances under which people can do things. Culture prevents individuals from rationalizing, cutting corners. Culture helps people think of themselves as defenders and stewards of a mission or an outlook, and encourages them to carry it over to the next generation. Culture binds and culture grows, and it couldn't be simpler to implement. It starts at the top. This is unavoidable. Leaders have to set the tone. Now, I love that. I love that. That's a great description. I wouldn't say definition of it, but the proof is in the pudding with that coach, in my opinion. And it's always just like, what is culture? And like Coach says, that's what it consists of. And it does start at the top, I think. And I'm going to reminisce a little bit, about the teams that I worked with in the past. And I remember our culture in Anaheim was about work ethic. And Randy Carlisle used to say, hard work is a given. And our players knew that. And I think there were times when the coach was a little hard, and that's okay because it worked at the end. And there were people that were, I call them glue guys, glue guys that helped steer the ship in the right direction. Not because the coach told a player or two to do that, but because they knew what the end goal was. And I can think back to our 07 team, like, there were guys on that team that they knew what their mission was, and it was clear and simple. And I think of guys like Todd Marchant. Todd Marchant was a guy, probably not the best player on the team, but he was a guy that you win with. And he would he would do the things that some other players might not want to do. Maybe he planned the Halloween party, or he planned the rookie dinner, or he wasn't afraid to do the stuff that no one else wanted to do. And we'd always talk about culture and implementing culture and seeing those moments when, or examples where the culture was present and people were buying in. And I think back vividly. I recall when we traveled to Ottawa during the Stanley Cup Finals in '07. We had a long flight from Anaheim to Ottawa, and we didn't skate that day. And we went right to the hotel. And Coach Carlisle was like, I want to do a team warm up at the hotel. And it was a beautiful night out. We were on this really nice golf course where the hotel was. And, there was a time when I was like, we had some heavy hitters on that team that maybe they would rather be doing something else than doing a team warm up that they might think is a time waster. But I remember that vividly because we were by the 18th hole in this nice golf course, and we were in a big circle doing our dynamic warm up in place. And not one player bitched or complained or gave me a shot. It was all just guys doing what they were asked to do. And I think we ended with a team clap, whatever it was. And those times were nervous for me. Like I said, there were heavy hitters that would rather be doing something else. I already mentioned that. But anyways, I remember Todd Marchant just walking by me and saying culture. And yeah, that was pretty cool. And he would also make these T-shirts before every round. Every round, Todd would go out of his way to make T-shirts for everyone in the organization. I think, passion was a word, and destiny. And I don't know if culture made the cut, but it's pretty cool that all those words are engraved on the Stanley Cup rings. But I talk about that because I remember that culture vividly, and that was a small example of our culture in place. And so, when I talk about, team guys, glue guys, and I think about today's NHL, and I know I talk about Perry a lot, and deservingly so. And there's a reason why, as we're entering the final four of the Stanley Cup playoffs here, by the time this is out, maybe one or two of them could be on the way to the Stanley Cup finals. But there's a reason that Corey Perry is still going, because you win with guys like Corey Perry. Now, adding Brad Marchand to the Florida Panthers, you win with guys like Brad Marchand. So those are just two examples, and you add in Brad Marchand to a guy like Matthew Tkachuk, who you win with guys like Matthew Tkachuk. And there's a lot of guys like that, but those are guys that really stand out to me. And I think about the last team that I work with, there's no question, guys like Spurgey and Moose, I know I'm dropping nicknames here, but Jared Spurgeon, Marcus Foligno, and Hartman, like I knew it. You win with guys like that. And I think that those are strong signings by the GM there, and they're going to win. I think they are going to win at some point, but it's going to be because you have guys like that. And so I love that stuff. I love it. And I think about Good to Great by, I think the author is Jim Collins. He talks about getting the right people on your bus and moving in the right direction. And it's a process. It takes a lot of work. It's not just a couple guys sprinkled on a team to win a Stanley Cup. We all know that. But again, there's a reason why the Oilers and now the Panthers with Marchand are still playing. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a repeat of last year's Stanley Cup final, and the Worm and what do they call it? Marchand, the Rat, going at it. And that'd be something to watch. Because I don't know. You just had a feeling around some of these guys that like you win with guys like that. And Todd Marchant was a big factor in that Stanley Cup run back in '07, amongst other guys as well. Obviously, the Prongers, Niedermeyers, Getzlaffs, and Boschemans, and Jaguars, and all that. But I just want to say that And then team guys, team guys where the team is more important than the individual accolades. I get it. It's tough nowadays. It's tough nowadays. You see it, these huge contracts, these expectations on players. But in most cases, and I've seen it, the team has success, you will have individual success, monetarily or contract or years added to a present contract. I've seen it just because you're part of a winning team. And so what I want to talk about is the culture at Skahan Sports Conditioning. I like to think our culture is really good, but it's evolving and growing. And when I talk about getting the right people on the bus, like I love to have kids here who are going to show up every day. They're going to show up every day. They're going to work their butts off when it's appropriate. And they're just going to keep showing up. They're going to keep showing up no matter how long the program is. They're going to be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or they're going to be here Tuesday, Thursday. They're going to put in the work. They're not the kids that might treat Skahan Sports like it's a drop-in type. Oh, I feel like getting a workout today. I'm going to go to Skahan's. No, like those are the people that I don't necessarily want on the bus. I want to help turn them into people who want to be here, not missing workouts, no question. But I love having the people here who believe in themselves and they know they're going to put in the work to get better. And you can see the culture in the groups. You can see people pushing each other, people just getting through the next exercise. And then, when they say thank you on the way out the door, or I say good job to them, that there's a great feeling with that. And it was the same when I worked in the NHL. If a guy put in a good workout in, a guy had a good workout in and a fist pump here or there, to me, that was culture in the strength and conditioning staff. It was a lot easier in college because your kids are going to be there on time. The NHL, there might be some filtering in. A guy might say, hey, are you okay if I work out after practice? I want to get some extra work in. You'd be like, that's fine. As long as they got the work in, you don't really have that ability to say, okay, everyone's here at 9 o'clock for a workout. I mean, maybe in training camp you do, but during the season, there has to be some give and take. But as long as they got the work in and they put in the work, I didn't care. That was part of the fabric. That was part of the culture. And yeah, I hope that makes sense. But like Coach said, it's always evolving, it's always building, and you leave it for generations. And I think about the Patriots, he talked about it in the book where like Julian Edelman was not necessarily sick of, but he was, he wanted to take the Patriots culture to a new level with the guys that he had playing with versus the older guys like Bruschi and I don't know, Mike Vrabel, all those guys, the older guys who won Super Bowls. Edelman wanted to keep winning Super Bowls, acknowledge the culture in the past, but create the Patriots culture create the Patriots culture again and keep it rolling. So sorry about that. But anyways, I want to talk about culture and what it means. And I think culture can be applied to your daily life. It's your job, it's your family. And I hope that helps. I hope you enjoyed listening to this kind of, not a rant, but hopefully my passion for having a strong culture has come through on this. And again, like and share it. And I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks.